Marvel's Wonderman is about to be released on Disney+. Based off everything we have learned about the series, it will be a meta commentary on the state of superhero television and film in today's media landscape, tackling the idea of superhero fatigue.
For a remake of Wonderman, Mr. Von Kovac, could you tell us more?
Everyone is tired of superheroes. There is an opportunity to reimagine a whole genre of storytelling.
And the endless stream of superhero films and television that have led to that. Brought to you by the studio who are the main ones responsible for making people feel like there is superhero fatigue. For the past 5 years or so, Marvel's put a lot of films and a lot of television out, and not all of them have been good. When Disney Plus first launched, Marvel was ordered by Disney to make a lot of shows for Disney Plus. So a lot of these shows do feel a bit corporate and don't feel like they have a true creative voice behind them. Though that is not always the case, we have received some great television from creators who have passion and a vision for what their series could be. Chief among these great television shows are the animated shows, which have really outshined their live-action counterparts in that regard, as they have been telling stories that are relevant, emotional, and deeply human. Seeing this new age of Marvel animation got me thinking back to what I think is the best era of Marvel animation, and just superhero animation in general, the years from 2000 to 2010. During this time, Marvel, DC, and every other superhero property were excelling in the realm of animation. They had all seen what had worked in the 90s and sought to continue to bring the same level of passion and creativity to each show they worked on. And while each show appealed to kids, they didn't talk down to kids and treated their audience with respect. One show that is a personal favourite of mine arrived in 2010, at the tail end of this era. That show being the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Avengers, assemble!
Avengers EMH was a new take on the Avengers that took direct inspiration from Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's original comics, while also adapting more recent comic storylines and characters. One such character that was adapted was Simon Williams, aka Wonderman, in his second ever adaptation following the short-lived Avengers United They Stand series from 1999. And what happened to this version is nothing short of a tragedy. But before we dive into more detail about Wonderman from Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I highly recommend you watch the show first in case you haven't seen it. My video is no substitute for watching the actual show. The show is available for streaming on Disney+, but if you don't want to support Disney+, that's fine. The entire series was released on DVD in each region. They're out of print now, but if you can get your hands on them secondhand for a decent price, I highly recommend it, and I'll always advocate for physical media. I'll also be talking about some of his comic history, so I recommend you read the comics for yourself as well. A lot of Wonderman stories have been collected in a trade paperback titled Wonderman: The Saga of Simon Williams, so I highly recommend you pick it up if you want to know more about Wonderman before the show's release. I bought it before making this video and it's been a big help. There has also been an omnibus release featuring his earlier adventures. And for those of you who prefer to read your comics digitally, basically every one of his comics is available on Marvel Unlimited. And it would also be great if you click the like button and subscribe so I can make more videos like this one. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Like I said before, Avengers EMH took huge inspiration from the original comics, but also gave them their own unique take. Wonderman is a prime example of this. As originally in the comics, Wonderman debuted in Avengers number 9 from 1964. He was created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Don Heck. Simon Williams was an industrialist who inherited his father's company, Williams Innovations. However, under Simon's leadership, the company struggled and couldn't keep up with its competitor, Stark Industries. So, in order to avoid bankruptcy, Simon stole from the company, embezzling funds, but he was caught. However, it would later be revealed that Simon had turned to his brother Eric Williams, also known as the supervillain the Grim Reaper, for help, and it was actually Eric who had stolen from the company, with Simon taking the fall. Though Simon still blamed Tony Stark for his situation, and grows resentful toward him. The Masters of Evil, consisting of Baron Zemo, the Enchantress, and the Executioner, seized the opportunity to manipulate Simon through his anger of Stark. convincing him to be part of an experiment that gives him ionic powers, enough to defeat Iron Man and the rest of the Avengers. However, his ionic powers are unstable, and unless Simon receives a special antidote from Zemo, he will die. So now with no other choice, Wonderman joins with Zemo's Masters of Evil to destroy the Avengers and Iron Man. But when it comes down to it, Simon is a good man, and he betrays Zemo, saving the Avengers and supposedly dying in the process. It's okay, he got better. Earth's Mightiest Heroes directly pulls from this origin, but makes some small changes to help make their version stand out from the comics. Most notable among these changes being that Simon didn't inherit his father's company. He built it from scratch himself.
I built Williams Innovations from nothing.
He worked hard to get where he is, and now it seems like everything he has worked for will be taken away by Tony Stark.
It's all I have.
Was, actually.
What?
I'm the majority shareholders of about 15 minutes ago.
I'm not gonna let you destroy my entire life!
It makes him very sympathetic and creates a unique dynamic between him and Stark, as Tony obviously inherited the Stark name and everything that comes with that name. But Simon had to work to get to a place where he can actually compete with Stark. But now that Stark has developed the arc reactor technology, Williams Innovations can't compete. When we first meet Simon, he is meeting with Tony to try and ask him as a human being to stay away from his company.
We don't know each other. But I came to ask you personally. Don't do this.
So we can see from this very first interaction that Simon is a good person. When he believes that Stark is going to take away everything he's built, Simon storms off and meets with his brother for a way to get revenge. Eric brings him to MODOK and AIM, who put him through the experiment that gives him his ionic energy powers. And this is where we deviate slightly from the original comic, as it's MODOK and AIM who put him through the experiment instead of Zemo. But don't worry, he'll play a part later. Simon, now Wonderman, goes after Stark and attempts to kill him.
Pepper, go! Get out of here!
But after a brief fight with Ant-Man and Captain America, Simon's body starts to deteriorate. Tony desperately tries to save his life.
Hank, we've got to save him.
I don't know if we can. Look at the ions. He's too far.
Hank, please!
Okay.
By using the arc reactor to sustain his energy-based form. A great use of irony, using the invention that was causing Simon's company to go under as the thing to save his life. Before they can save him though, Simon seemingly dies, leaving Tony devastated.
This is not what I wanted.
Tony reveals that he bought Simon's company to save it and foster his ideas.
I bought Simon's company to save it. It wasn't going to survive. I knew Simon had brilliant tech and development. I wanted to work with him, to save what he built. All I wanted to do was help him.
Which is why we know this is a fictional world, because in real life when a company buys another company, it's never with noble intentions. The episode's ending reveals that Wonderman survived, now kept alive by the magic of the Enchantress, who along with Baron Zemo blackmail him into joining the Masters of Evil. Because if he refuses, they'll let him die. Essentially a new take on how Zemo manipulated him in the original comics. So over the course of the series, Wonderman is now a reluctant villain, and whenever they face the Avengers, he either hangs his head in shame of what he's doing, or tries to resolve things peacefully before resorting to violence.
Avengers, please! I'm not here to fight. Just please listen to what Zemo has to say.
I'm warning you, Avenger. Back off. I don't want to fight you, but I can't let you have the stone.
Because he never truly wanted any of this. He just wanted his life back.
You're a good man. You don't want any part of this.
I don't have any choice. They're the only reason I'm even alive. And if I want to stay alive, I do what they say.
However, he still harbors a grudge against Tony Stark. But unbeknownst to him, Stark has been working tirelessly to find a cure for him.
This isn't about Zemo. Stark destroyed my life.
Tony Stark has found a way to hold your energy form together. He has found a cure for you.
What?
When he learns this information, gives him the courage to finally stand up to both Zemo and the Enchantress, knowing full well that he could die in the process.
Enough, Zemo! I'm not going to stand by and watch anymore. I'm not going to let you hurt anyone else because I'm afraid.
When Zemo and the Enchantress are fighting each other, Wonderman sacrifices himself to save everyone and stop the two of them from gaining more power. Very similar to the comics. In the show, he's remembered as a hero.
Because of Wonderman, with the Nornstone's power, the Enchantress may very well have been unstoppable. Wonderman's sacrifice saved us all.
But his death was only meant to be temporary. Wonderman was meant to return to the series at some point in the later half of Season 2. But the heads of Marvel Television at the time, most notably Jeff Loeb, cancelled the show in order to replace it with a show that reflects the MCU more, and therefore wanted everything that was going to carry over into Season 3 to be wrapped up, meaning a lot of episodes in the back half of Season 2 had to be rewritten and heavily changed.
About halfway through Season 2, we got kind of new marching orders for what the show needed to be. And so some elements of the last 13 episodes were changed from what our original plans were. And ultimately, we were pushed away from doing that level of serialization and continuity. And so a lot of those storylines got wrapped up toot sweet.
One example of this was the episode titled Emperor Stark, which is a loose adaptation of the Emperor Doom storyline, where Wonderman was a pivotal character. But since the plans were changed, Vision was used instead for the episode. Speaking of Vision, when creating Vision in the comics, Ultron used Wonderman's brainwaves to do so. I'm not sure if they had planned to do so in the show as well, but Vision does debut in the back half of Season 2 and is created off screen, and it's never explained how Ultron survived Season 1, so maybe their plans were changed, or maybe this episode was the last one that was untouched by the Marvel Television leadership. Who knows? Famously, one storyline that unfortunately couldn't be wrapped up and was left hanging was the Ragnarok storyline, which according to co-showrunner Christopher Yost, would have been resolved in Season 3 and would have heavily featured Wonderman. Fans have been wondering for years of what Season 3 could have looked like, and thanks to Chris, we now have some idea. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes Season 3 would have had magic and mutants as its main focus. And to celebrate the show's 10th anniversary in 2020, Christopher Yost posted a lengthy Twitter thread detailing each episode. Now take this with a grain of salt because Chris stated that this is just a what-if scenario. And fellow showrunner Joshua Fine said that Chris did this just for fun, and if the show did come back, and let's hope it does, it would probably take a different approach from what he posted.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought all the stuff that he put out there was great. Obviously, he was doing it just for the fun of the anniversary and to give fans a taste of some of the stuff that we might have done. Like, if by some magical occurrence we were to do a Season 3, we probably wouldn't do exactly the plot lines that he put out there.
I do believe, though, that there is some truth to Chris's thread. As some of what is in here, both Chris and Joshua have stated that they plan to do, such as Avengers vs. X-Men. So based on Chris's thread, in this third season, Wonderman would have returned, seeking the Avengers' help to stop the Enchantress. But how is he alive? Well, Season 2 did reveal that Enchantress survived the explosion because she was teleported away by the stone. So it's safe to say Wonderman was teleported away as well. After their battle with the Enchantress, Wonderman would join the Avengers, effectively gaining a second chance in redeeming himself for his time as part of the Masters of Evil. Later in the season, he would go to the West Coast and form the West Coast Avengers, along with Hawkeye, Mockingbird, and Tigra, who would have been introduced in this episode. The West Coast Avengers aren't mentioned in any other synopsis or anything else Chris posted, so maybe this was meant to be a one and done, like the New Avengers episode from Season 2. We also don't know if Wonderman would have stayed on the team for the entire season or if he would have left at some point, as he's not mentioned in any other synopsis. The season would have also featured Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, first starting out as villains, before becoming heroes and joining the Avengers, just like in the comics. This we know for a fact to be true, and isn't a what-if scenario, as their appearance had been set up in the show itself, and the show's official tie-in comics. which even end with the Wasp extending an invitation for them to both join the team. Not to mention, both of them were reoccurring characters in Wolverine and the X-Men, which is part of the same shared universe as this show. But Joshua Fine has stated that if Earth's Mightiest Heroes had continued, it might have broken canon with Wolverine and the X-Men. The inclusion of Scarlet Witch is particularly significant to this video, as in the comics and the previous Avengers cartoon, not only was Wanda in a relationship with Vision, but there was also a kind of love triangle between her, Vision, and Wonderman, as Simon also had feelings for Wanda. Would that love triangle be part of the 3rd season? Who knows? But since the show pays tribute to a lot of classic storylines, I'd say there's a possibility it might have. Despite it not being fully completed, Wonderman has a compelling arc across Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. In the show, his situation is his own fault, but he blames everyone but himself. He can blame Stark. He could even blame Zemo and Amora the Enchantress, but he never takes responsibility and accountability. He is immensely powerful, but easily manipulated, and willingly stands by and aids supervillains in their schemes of world domination, with billions of lives at risk, and simply because he's afraid of losing his own life.
You don't understand.
What? That Zemo is keeping you alive?
His is a story of control. He believed that by getting revenge on Stark, he would have control of his own life again. But in doing so, he handed over the control of his life to those who are pure evil. However, through the kindness and the example shown to him by Ant-Man,
what Tony did to you was wrong, but violence won't help anything. Is this who you want to be? A villain? A criminal? I don't think so. You're a good person, Simon, and I'll help you if you'll let me.
Black Panther.
I believe that Wakandan science could solve your problem as well, just as I believe the Avengers can help you, Wonderman. You need not be under Zemo's control. Zemo is an evil man, Simon Williams. I do not believe that you are.
And Tony Stark himself.
Hold it together. We'll figure out a way to save you.
He finally takes responsibility, takes charge, and saves lives. And in doing so, he takes back control of his own life, and then would have earned a second chance as a hero in the planned 3rd season. That's what this show did so incredibly well. It developed characters and gave them multi-layered arcs across seasons that led to incredibly cathartic payoffs. Maybe we could see a 3rd season for this show, and with it, a final payoff to Wonderman's arc. It's not impossible. Young Justice got 2 extra seasons after its first cancellation, and Earth's Mightiest Heroes ended around the same time as Young Justice did. And not to mention, we live in a world where X-Men 97 exists, a revival of a show that's over 30 years old. So I think it could still happen. But until that day comes, this is what we've got. And I have to say, it's pretty wonderful. What do you think of Wonderman from Earth's Mightiest Heroes? Will you be watching the new Wonderman series? Though he's not an A-lister, there is a rich history to Wonderman. There's a lot that they can pull from, and there's a lot of potential here. He's been an actor, a stuntman, member of the Avengers, West Coast Avengers. His best friend was Beast from the X-Men. Like, there's a lot that you can do. And I already mentioned his ties to Vision, Ultron, and the Scarlet Witch. So maybe they'll touch on that in the MCU, but they really haven't set it up at the moment in the MCU, so maybe not. Who knows? Who knows? Let me know all these things, theories, everything you have in the comments down below. Also, please support the channel Chainsaw Reacts, as his interviews with showrunner Joshua Fine were extremely helpful for this video. Until next time, thanks for visiting Earth Prime.